So we're at Dalaman Airport again, and this time we're going to Trabzon. We're in Trabzon, a city in northeast Türkiye on the Black Sea coast and the capital of the Trabzon province. In total, around 800,000 people live here, and it was founded about 700 BC by Greek settlers, and it had many names over the centuries. For the most part, it's been called Trebizond. Popular with the Venetians and Genoese traders, Trebizond was a cultural mix of Lars, Greeks, Armenians and Ottoman Turks right up until the end of the 19th century. Most people know Trabzon from the football team Trabzonspor, which is in the Turkish Super League, and they have a stadium here that locals call Papara Park, which cost $35 million to build in 2016. The full name is Şenol Güneş Spor Kompleksi Para Park, which is a mouthful. Şenol Güneş was a Turkish national team coach and former goalkeeper for Trabzonspor. The stadium is a couple of miles out of the centre, but there is plans to build a tramway to it. The most popular part of the city is behind me. This is the Ataturk Meydanı, or what we would call the Ataturk Square.
The square is quiet in the morning but gets busier throughout the day. And the surrounding old buildings, restaurants and cafes, which are tastefully lit, are pretty full most evenings and especially at weekends. And although alcohol is not served in most locantas and restaurants, there are a couple of places around the square that you can get an alcoholic drink. The main shopping streets are also off this square. And the most popular one is Uzungöl, which means long street, and it really is long, with lots of shops, cafes and locantas.
So this looks like a nice locanta, so we'll try here. Wow, that's what you call a fire at the back of the doner. İsminiz? Harlem. Hey, he's got a towel around him because he's sweating so much. Terliyorsunuz herhalde.
Terliyoruz.
Oh, wow. Kolay gelsin.
Öyle.
They serve the meat by so many grams. Tamam. Pide mi? Lahmacun mu? Lahmacun. Ha, çok güzel. Wow, brilliant. Wow, nice food on display here. O yeni geldi. Akşama geliriz o zaman. Teşekkürler. Look at the food, isn't it beautiful? My favourite, like a potato and meat stew. And that's meat and green beans. And a nice salad to go with it. And of course, a basket of bread. What was that like, lovey?
Lovely. Filling and tasty.
Ne kadar borcumuz?
620 efendim.
620.
Evet.
That's about 15 quid, isn't it?
Sarı mı abi?
Oh yeah, they're just your barra, lovey.
I wonder if they do that in a larger size.
And this street heads towards the older part of the city, which has got some lovely restored Ottoman buildings. and the castle wall, which overlooks the Zanos Vardisi Park, an old viaduct and the ancient bridge. This park at one end is the city mosque, which is next to the coast, and at the other end is the Trabzon aquarium.
Most aquariums that I've been to in Türkiye have been really expensive, but this is not. It's 360 lira per person.
And for me, any aquarium is worth a visit.
One of the oldest surviving buildings here in Trabzon is Agia Sophia Church, which was built, I think, in the 13th century.
This was originally a Christian church, but they've now turned it into a mosque. And as with all mosques, you need to wear a headscarf, but they do provide one at the door.
Hagia Sophia, which means the Holy Wisdom, was completed as a church in 1263, but was converted into a mosque in 1461, remaining as a mosque for 500 years until 1964, when Edinburgh University got involved in revealing the amazing old paintings covered up by plaster for 500 years. After the restoration work, it was then opened as a museum until 2013, when it was returned to being a mosque again, and the paintings covered with large shields to hide the paintings, but just for the times of prayer.
What feels odd is that you're looking at pictures that depict Christianity, but it's a mosque.
What is nice, they've rolled the carpet back so you can see the original floor here.
The tall building at the side of the church was originally built as a bell tower in 1427. That's 34 years before it was actually used as a minaret, and it's been a minaret ever since. Another popular building for visitors here is the Ataturk Köşkü.
Köşk actually means a platform, but this is obviously a really lovely house that he must have visited at some time.
This mansion was actually built and completed in 1912, and it was owned by a Greek merchant banker. In 1923, him and his family had to leave Türkiye because of the population exchange and had to go to Greece. So it became the property of the state, and they gifted it to Ataturk. He actually made his will here in 1937. After his death in 1938, ownership went to his sister and was finally purchased from her by the Trabzon municipality to be used as the Ataturk Museum for a sum of $116,000. Apparently he stayed here several times and liked it here. Although this was a beautiful house, as a museum to Ataturk, there wasn't much memorabilia or any of his artifacts.
I didn't see much information about Ataturk and when he stayed in this house, and it's not the most impressive Ataturk museum that I've seen.
An early morning walk around the old part of the city revealed some really interesting things, buildings, parks and statues. I hadn't seen any of them on the tourist information or internet sites. Including Trabzon Castle, which was closed off because of an archaeological dig. The original castle looked like it was a citadel, and on the internal walls was mostly old derelict buildings.
There's not much to see at the castle, in fact it's just really a wall. They're doing a bit of a dig there as well, and it's really not worth the walk, the very steep walk up the hill.
But I was invited to an early morning bakery.
Tamam, oi. So, oh, and it's hot as well, look at that, this is red hot. I don't think I can eat it, it's that hot. İsminiz?
Mehmet Ali.
Mehmet Ali misin? Siz ne zaman açtınız buraya?
1952.
52 mi? Oo, o kadar yaşlı değilsin sen.
Yeni değil, babam ondan.
Aa, tamam. Teşekkürler ya. Görüşürüz. Kolay gelsin. It's lovely without anything on. Amazing. I wonder how many bakeries in the UK would let me film in their place.
And I also popped into the Trabzon City Museum, which had some interesting artifacts and displays. On top of the tallest hill overlooking Trabzon port and city is a popular tea garden, serving tea in traditional Turkish double tea urns. But we were also surprised to find several restaurants on this hill too, especially a particularly good fish restaurant.
This is levrek, which is sea bass with tomato, cheese and garlic. That is really nice. Trudie's got a lovely chipra, sea bream. Did they cook it well?
To perfection.
Most tourists won't go away from this region without seeing the fantastic monastery.
In a car, it takes about 40 minutes from Trabzon city centre.
Burada mı kalacağız?
Burada bırakıyorsunuz aracı, dolmuşlarla ilerleyeceksiniz.
Ha, dolmuş mu gidiyor? Ha, tamam. O zaman bilet buradan mı alıyoruz?
Aynen.
Tamam.
Otopark ücretini alayım arkadaş.
Ne kadar o?
120.
Buyurun. So you got to pay for your parking and then we're going to go up with a minibus. Minibüsler ne zaman geliyor?
10 dakikada bir geliyorlar.
Öyle mi? Ha, tamam.
Yelekli arkadaşın yanına devam edin, fişinizi versin size.
Hangisi? O mu? Tamam. Tamam. Nerede park edeceğiz?
İleride sol tarafa doğru bekle.
Tamam. Car park's absolutely packed. So this car park is probably a mile from the actual monastery.
Well, it's 60 lira for the car park and then 52 lira each for the shuttle, and then I think it's 20 euros each for the monastery. You only have to wait a couple of minutes for the shuttles to take you up to the monastery. It's taken about 5 minutes to get up to this point, and there's 400 meters left to walk it. But as you can see, we can't always guarantee the weather, and it's obviously raining.
And there's a guy selling rain mats, which I think I should have got one.
So sensible shoes and something warm to wear.
I came here 20 years ago and they've completely changed the way you get to it. They used to just drop you off on the minibuses and then you used to have to walk up. And in fact, in my younger days, I actually ran all the way to the top. I couldn't do that now. Entertainment en route.
On a day like today, the views are this. Stunning.
Viaduct, which I think carries water. So I'm going to ask him if the old museum card is still valid.
Surprisingly, he said the museum card was okay.
It's a bit lovely. It's the last staircase.
Do you think they sell tea up here?
Sure they do. They probably grow it. I'm aware that over recent years, 2016, they closed the place, I think, for 3 years while they did restoration work, because there was a fire in the 1930s that destroyed a lot of the monastery, but they've totally restored it, apparently, so we'll see.
Sumela Monastery was founded around 386 AD, they think, and it's built at an elevation of 1,200 metres. That's nearly 4,000 feet in the cliff face of Karadağ, Black Mountain. Although originally a Greek Orthodox monastery for monks, it's been a refuge for all Christians and Muslim travellers alike over the centuries, and a place of study, boasting many rooms for monks, numerous guest rooms, study rooms, a library, a kitchen, several chapels, and recently discovered a secret tunnel to a prayer room, but this is not open to the public.
So for me, the most impressive part of the monastery is definitely the little rock church, which is covered in fantastic paintings. And the rock face is not very secure, so there's still people fixing nets to it.
Well, he's either dead or he's a dummy.
I think you're right.
It was a realistic dummy showing the difficult work they've done over the last 3 years, securing the rock face.
To get a real impression of this monastery, you really need a drone. So the way that they've done the entrance at Sumela Monastery has changed, and you don't actually get to see the outside of the monastery, which is a shame. But if you're driving up here and you go past the security point, tell them you're not going in Sumela, you're just going up the mountain, and drive up to this point. You get a lovely view of it.
"20 minutes drive out of Trabzon is a popular lake. Sera Gölü has a few restaurants around it and little pedal boats to hire, which would be nice on a summer's day. but we decided to drive into the lush green hills and realised they are covered in thousands of hazelnut trees. And we were fortunate enough to see a lady in her garden taking the husks off them. I asked her, how long does it take to do this many nuts? She said, oh, it's only a couple of days. These are fundak, which is hazelnuts. This is how they come with the husks on. And when they're peeled, they look like this. And that lovely lady's given us some as a present.
Very nice. We just need to go and buy a nutcracker now. What a fantastic view while picking nuts.
But for me and Trudie, the most enjoyable thing about this area is the beautiful natural scenery.
So we headed to the mountains to find the most famous lake around here, about 1.5 hours drive from Trabzon. When we arrived, we were surprised and a little shocked. Driving around wasn't what we were expecting. So many hotels, restaurants, adventure parks, zip lines and bouncy castles. Not what we were looking for.
So this is Uzungöl, which is a beautiful natural lake in the mountains, and a lot of people come here. And 20 years ago it was a very natural, lovely place to come, but it has become really commercialized now, and it's not the place that it used to be.
This is my first time to Uzungöl, and I have to say I'm a bit disappointed at all the commercialised things that surround the lake. There are those that love this sort of thing, but for me personally, I think it detracts from the whole beauty of the surrounding area.
Although this was still a very beautiful place, it had turned into a very touristic resort.
But a few miles above Uzungöl is this lovely yayla or plateau, which is called Demirkapi, which means steel door. And we managed to stay in this lovely place called Agia Suites by just driving up here.
This lovely place was a mix of tourism and traditional culture, with old traditional buildings and just a couple of hotels. The perfect place to go walking in the mountains and get away from city life. We saw a lady collecting the kuşburnu, which is what we call rose hips. She said she was going to make marmalade with them.
It's a dipper. Ah, it's lovely to see a bird like that. Oh, he's just jumped straight in the water.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong beard.
Alabalık.
Alabalık ama benekli alabalık.
Benekli alabalık sadece bu derede yaşıyor. Hiç satın alınmaz bu.
Ha.
Parayla bulamazsınız.
So this is another yayla, which is actually higher up than Demirkapi and mostly camping here. But what's so strange is the things they've got for you to do. I mean, really? On a beautiful place like this? And they've got bouncy things over here, look. And even a bit of a paddling pool. And in a lot of the places they've got these zip lines which are only about 50 meters long. It's the last thing that I want to do when I come to a beautiful place like this. This is a lovely yayla. It reminds us of Cemalalan, near Yakaköy in Fethiye. I think Rent-A-Car are going to have a heart attack when they see where we've taken this car.
Rufat's just told us that there's bears up there, but I don't believe him. There's not, is there?
Ayılar var değil mi?
Ayılar var.
Var ama fazla gözükmüyor. Nadir herhalde.
Nadir ama büyük.
Ha,
600
büyük.
kilo falan.
Kurt var.
Yaban keçisi var.
Yaban keçisi. İyi.
Teki.
Hey, super bir yer ya. And there's nothing like a cup of tea at the side of the road.
There's 2 or 3 different rooms in the UGS suites, and we had the self-contained apartment.
Well, as you can see, this is a really modern kitchen. It's got everything you need, including a full-size fridge freezer. So you could park yourself up here for at least a month. And they actually charge about £50 a night here.
But this included the breakfast, which was something else. And this is the breakfast that you get. And the girls are lovely. They've made us something called komak, which is traditional, and it's made from mısır unu, which is corn flour, oil, and cheese, which like cheddar cheese, kaşar peynir diyor.
No calories here.
You're joking. And then we've got menemen over here, which is lovely. Again with some cheese on. And burek and the usual
Homemade
things.
jams and
Homemade jams and
cheeses and olives. And
that's lovely. And also this. How sweet is that? They've actually wrote on here, "Good morning, Mick and Trudie. Enjoy your meal. Thanks for choosing Agia Sweets."
But this breakfast isn't just put on for us. This is what they serve to everybody that comes for breakfast.
And look at the view. Fantastic, isn't it?
I'm in heaven.
And you've put a line across here. Is that so that I can't eat too much?
Always put a line in your food when you're sharing.
Especially with your man. Very nice. Another place to stay in Demirkapi was this one.
These apartments, there's 26 of them. They have a beautiful view, and it's about 3,500 lira, which is £85, including breakfast. And the restaurant looks nice as well.
Just bear in mind that if you're going to go up into the mountains away from the city, to take any alcoholic drinks with you if you like a drink, because you won't find anything up on the yaylas, on the plateaus. Even the restaurants and hotels don't serve alcohol there. So go to the supermarket, and the best supermarket we found for any alcoholic drinks in Trabzon was Migros.
So what about the hotels we stayed in Trabzon?
We stayed at this one. This is the TS Park Hotel, which there's no parking in this area, only in the back streets. And this hotel has got an agreement with one of the private parking areas in the back streets. So what you do is you come to the parking area and just give them a call, and then they'll come and help you with your baggage. And they'll park your car for you as well. Incidentally, this hotel is in a building which is, I think, 200 years old.
But of course the rooms are modern, and we stayed in a deluxe room which was £55 a night, including breakfast. With a modern toilet and shower. The floors are carpeted, so quiet. And there's a shared sitting room and balcony. It's situated next to the most popular part of the city.
So the breakfast is similar to what you would normally get anywhere else in Turkey.
And you can sit outside overlooking the square for breakfast if you want.
There's only one disadvantage of this hotel, and that is there's no lift. And we're on the 3rd floor.
So then we stayed at the Hagia Premier for about £65 a night. We were surprised that most of the staff here spoke good English.
Yeah.
Like extend your stay and you will be able to stay for another night.
Lovely, that's great.
Rooms were nice with a balcony. It had a gym, a small swimming pool, a sauna and a steam room. Breakfast here was really good.
Wow, they got a good selection here, haven't they?
It also had a lounge bar and served alcoholic drinks, which is unusual in Trabzon. It is a bit out of the city, but in a nice area next to the coastal park and some amenities.
One thing you can't rely on in Trabzon is the weather. It rains here over 100 days a year, which is less than it is in the UK, but when it rains a lot more. And actually you get more than 2 meters of rain every year in this area. But this is like a subtropical climate because it's still quite warm, which is ideal for growing things like tea. And the place with the biggest production of tea is the place we're going next. We're going to Rize.
So we'll be looking at the tea plantations and things to do in Rize in our next film. So please subscribe to our channel.
So that's it from the lush green Black Sea region.
Don't forget to like and share with all your friends
Subscribe.
and hit that notification bell so you don't miss where we go next.
Thanks for watching.